I do not understand some of these people in the mainstream media. Sometimes it feels like the media is in this weird intellectual race where they combine their two brain cells and somehow they still manage to finish in third place. This can no longer be blamed on discontent. This can no longer be blamed on viewer fatigue. This serious ratings decline that we are seeing throughout the mainstream media, it has now become a trend. We have an entire month of data that proves the mainstream media is being rejected by normal people. And for some reason, they seem to be having a difficult time comprehending this message. Not all of them, though. Not all of them. There are some in the media who seem to be trying to appeal to normal people. Ironically enough, they are taking a beating as well because their audience of wanker spankers has completely turned against them. Since the election, I have noticed a drastic shift with the Young Turks. Well, KC, who in the hell are the Young Turds? The Young Turks have typically been a far left, very far left, independent media platform. Their sports channel has talked about Uncle KC several times in the past. This man is infected with misogyny. He makes fun of the WNBA. Why does he hate women when he should be trying to become one? The founder of the Young Turks, Jake Uger, I always mispronounce his name no matter how many times I hear it pronounced correctly. This is not one of those times where I am mispronouncing someone's name intentionally. I'm just bad with names. I struggle remembering names. I struggle pronouncing names, which is why I give most people nicknames. But anyway, the founding turd, he is a staunch defender of bearded birthing persons being allowed to compete against females athletically. I guess he doesn't waste his time installing Tampax machines in the men's restroom. I mean, why in the hell would they need them in there when they can just use the machine in the women's locker room? Even though the Young Turks are far left, I have noticed a shift with them since the election. Now, in their defense, they have always been anti-establishment, but I've noticed a change in their demeanor. I've noticed more of a willingness from the Young Turks to speak with people that they would not have spoken to just 2 months ago. Over the weekend, one of the faces of the Young Turks, and without a doubt, the most visually appealing face at the network, Anna Kasparian, she sat down for an hour-long conversation with Glenn Beck. Now, like I said, that would not have happened 2 months ago. Glenn Beck, he would be viewed as public enemy number one. But the point is, we are seeing a shift with some in the left-wing media. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing for those in the mainstream media. Yesterday morning, Donnie Trump sat down for an interview with Kristen Welker from Meet the Press. I'm sure you guys have heard of Meet the Press. Used to be hosted by the dude with 2 first names, Charles Todd. Like the rest of her pretend friends in the media, Kristen Welker, she has seen a drastic decline in ratings. Third quarter of this year, she was averaging almost 2.5 million viewers. Last 3 weeks, she's got that number down to a cool 2.1 million. 16% decline in the last month. Yesterday morning, Kristen Welker had a dual opportunity. Since she was interviewing the Great Orange Hope, she had the chance to temporarily increase her ratings while also changing viewer perceptions of the dump known as NBC News at the same time. Unfortunately, though, for Kristen Welker, she just could not help herself. Instead of changing perceptions, she once again proved why millions of people are no longer watching the mainstream media. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. Yesterday on the second channel, we talked about the ongoing disaster in New Orleans. This morning, we talked about Nikola Jokic agreeing with Uncle KC. Over the weekend, Jokic made a joke about the performance of NBA players, the effort of NBA players not matching their salaries. Translation: some of these players are overpaid. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the second channel. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. We are currently in the year of our Lord 2024, right? Matter of fact, here in about 3 weeks, we're going to be in 2025. We've had 2 national elections in the last 4 years, midterms in 2022 and the referendum last month, where God showed mercy on our souls and eradicated the woke fungus. Now, I am no expert in math, but according to my calculations, 2020 was damn near 5 years ago, which is why I was incredibly confused yesterday morning when Kristen Welker wasted valuable time pressing the Trumper about an election that happened going on 5 years ago. The way she led into the question was typical for a paid propagandist. Kristen Welker, she tried to frame the question around the utopian idea of unity. UNITY! She tried to blame the Trumper for the division in the country. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think the country is that divided. We just elected the president in a landslide. To me, that sounds like UNITY. But according to Kristen Welker, the country is more divided than the Bruce Caboose after a 3-day weekend at the Butt Bongo Festival. But Chrissy had an idea for how to unify the country. She got with her friends at NBC, and they combined their collective brain cell to formulate a brilliant strategy for unification. All the country needs to turn divide into unify is for the Trumper to concede the 2020 election. Watch for yourself.
The country is deeply divided, and now you're going to be leading this country for the next 4 years. For the sake of unifying this country, will you concede the 2020 election and turn the page on that chapter?
No. No, why would I do that? But let me just tell you, when you say the country is deeply divided, I'm not the president. Joe Biden's the president.
But you're going to be the president.
No. I'm not the president. So when you say it's deeply divided, I agree. But Biden's the president, I'm not.
Let me ask you something, and I'll admit, I am no expert in unification, but how exactly is conceding an election that happened 4 years ago supposed to unify the country? Why in the hell are we even wasting time talking about something that happened 4 years ago? I'm surprised Kristen Welker didn't ask the Trumper, Mr. Orange, how come you're not wearing your Fauci mask? I just spoke with my physician, pretend Dr. Jill Biden. She sent her nurse Taylor Lorenz to the studio with a fresh box of Fauci masks. We offered one to you, but you are refusing to wear one. Can you tell me why and what went into this dangerous decision? This interview was an absolute disaster. And the reason I say that is because Kristen Welker, she would never do this same interview with Cackling Cam Harris. Speaking of Cackling Cam, did you guys hear the news? Did you know she was nominated for Time Magazine Person of the Year? I have no idea why she was nominated. She damn sure didn't accomplish anything this year. More than likely, Cam will not be winning the Turd Trophy, but I do have some great news for Cam. With this being the holiday season, Uncle KC brings tidings of great joy. Here in a couple of weeks, Cam is going to be competing for another award, a much more prestigious award. Cam will be fighting for the 2nd annual Huge Embarrassing Failure Awards. Now, of course, knowing Cackling Cam Harris, she will find a way to fuck that up too. But anyway, the reason I say this interview was a disaster, it's because Kristen Welker, she would never have this same energy with Cam Harris or Johnny B. Biden. Outside of the doofus question about the 2020 election, she did ask the Trumper some decent questions. She actually gave him credit for not taking a salary as the president. She asked him about health care. She asked about his plan for the southern border. But it's just the condescending tone, the condescending way that the questions are being framed. It's the clear bias that makes it difficult to take Kristen Welker seriously. Towards the end of the interview, the Trumper, he tried to give Chrissy some much needed advice. I guess Donnie is worried about her media career. Perhaps he was just trying to be chivalrous. Donnie noticed that a lovely lady is struggling, her ratings are circling the pooper, her influence is on the decline, if her influence ever existed to begin with, and being the gentleman that he is, Donnie offered some advice to Kristen Welker. Watch for yourself.
You have such potential. If you could be just non-biased, you hurt yourself so badly. I'm telling you, they deleted and destroyed all the evidence. Everyone knows it. And you slough it off like it doesn't mean anything.
No, I'm just saying they deny it. That's all I'm saying.
Kristen, if I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me. And you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Kristen Welker gets called out for her bias by the soon-to-be president of the United States on her own platform. This interview will be seen around the world. And even though it's embarrassing, it was needed. If Kristen Welker was smart, she would listen to Donnie's free advice. Hell, the rest of the mainstream media, they should listen to it too. Like I said in the beginning, they keep blaming declining ratings on viewer fatigue. They're basically saying, our audience is full of sore losers. Our audience is pissed off because we lost the election. No, your audience is pissed off because they finally realized that they were being lied to. Think about it. Think about the two options that woke media viewers have to choose from. They either have to believe that America elected the next Adolf, America elected a fascist who will take away their rights and freedoms. Obviously, that option's hard to believe because most people who get their news from MSNBC, they can't define fascist. Or they can believe that the media has been lying to them since 2016. And although Donald Trump has his faults, he is nowhere near as bad as the mainstream media portrayed him to be. Clearly, millions of people are going with option 2. But for some reason, the mainstream media, they just can't seem to accept it, which is fine. It's great for people like me because those millions of people, they didn't just stop consuming the news. They started getting their news from other sources. They started getting their news from normal people who are not in the business of exploiting them and lying to them. Give me your thoughts on this. Kristen Welker had an opportunity to change the perception of NBC News. Instead of taking advantage of that opportunity, she reinforces why people quit watching the mainstream media. I thought Donald Trump was excellent throughout the interview. I think we're going to see a lot of positive changes in 2025, and I think we're going to see more and more people abandoning the mainstream media. This is only the beginning. I think the media is in danger of being left behind. What about you? Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is by email, btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys later.